the winner of that award will have the award conferred upon him or her by the dean of their school. And this year, the winner happens to be from the School of Business, so we're honored to have with us our interim dean, Chris Kays. And you may or may not know that he came from the Department of Management, which is where the entrepreneurship program is headquartered within the school. So I'm delighted to introduce Dean Chris Kays. Please.
Thank you, John. It's probably a little late to welcome you to the George Washington University School of Business. I understand that you've had quite an exciting day listening to the variety of presenters, and I'm sorry I couldn't be here today and listen to them, but John has briefed me on all of the finalists as well as some of the early entries, and it sounds like a very exciting group. It sounds like not only do you have prospects for making quite a lot of money, but it sounds like you've also learned a lot in the process. And of course, as a business school, we're just as interested in the fact that you've learned as in the fact that you're going to make money. So hopefully, after you sell your companies for great multiples, you'll remember the George Washington University School of Business where you got started, and maybe we'll name the business school after you someday. So first of all, congratulations to all the finalists. You have risen to a pack of very impressive competitors, and it really is a competition. We've been very proud to host this competition at the School of Business for a number of years now. How many years, John? For 6 years. And we continue to think that this is one of the premier events in the School of Business, not just in entrepreneurship, but across all of the fields of study and across the university. In many ways, this kind of event is something that I think really stands out for the George Washington University School of Business, bringing together entrepreneurs, whether they be students, faculty in some cases, alum, working together to find new solutions to existing problems. So it's the ability for us to bring together these various groups that I think makes us one of the most exciting, definitely the most exciting university in the nation's capital, but I think one of the best places to come in the world for entrepreneurship. And of course, we're very proud to have been recognized by Princeton Review as one of the top 25 business schools for entrepreneurship. So I'd like to... And it's largely because of events like this, as well as an integrated curriculum of entrepreneurship that brings together courses from around the university that puts us on the map when it comes to entrepreneurship. So hopefully you'll stay involved with this program and others, and continue to be active in the university. I do want to take a minute just to recognize John and his efforts over the last few years in this program. As many of you know, John is going to be retiring from this role. Now, it's really hard for me to see John retiring from anything, because this is already your, second, third, fifth, 15th career? Okay. So I want to make sure that you stay involved, John, and we hope that you'll come back as a judge, as a mentor, and stay involved in the university. When I was chair of the Department of Management, I was very disappointed because John became so involved with the business plan competition here that he didn't have time to teach our students anymore. The first thing I did is I went to John. In fact, I remember this in the copy room, and I said, John, when are you going to teach entrepreneurship for us again? Because your classes are consistently ranked amongst the highest in the department. And John, in his very friendly and professional way, said, no thanks. I'm too busy with the business plan competition. So, John, I want to, in front of this group, see if you'll come back and teach entrepreneurship for us.
Thank you, Chris.
I thought maybe the social pressure would make you agree, but you always have an opportunity to teach at the George Washington University School of Business.
I appreciate your kind
thanks for all your help over these years. It's my pleasure as the dean here to recognize alum from the university, from the School of Business, who have gone on to achieve great things. And today I'm particularly honored to be able to recognize one of our extremely successful entrepreneurs. Roland Schumann is here today because he's had a very successful career in a variety of businesses. Roland and his former business partner, who is also a fellow George Washington University School of Business alum, Mark Wallace, sought the guidance of a School of Business faculty member, such as Professor Emeritus Will Money, who's here with us today, when creating a company called SwapDrive Incorporated, in a similar fashion to what later became the business plan competition model, pairing faculty and students to create innovative enterprises and businesses. So this tradition of bringing faculty, students together to create new ideas is something that's been our tradition for many years. Roland is an entrepreneur and software executive whose extensive and impressive history as an entrepreneur advisor is emblematic of his diligence and dedication to excellence in entrepreneurship. In 2000, he co-founded a company called SwapDrive Incorporated, a cloud computing software company that was ultimately acquired by Symantec Corporation. In his current role as founder of Tahoe Tech Ventures, Roland provides funding and leadership for entrepreneurs. His previous experiences have been similarly impressive. His career trajectory has also included roles as Senior Director of Symantec and Senior Associate at Booz Allen Hamilton. Many of you may know, just as a side note, that one of the corporate directors of Symantec is actually a graduate of our On the Board program here at the School of Business, which fosters and trains women and helps them become boards of directors. So we've got some very interesting connections here with George Washington University and some of your history. As a seasoned entrepreneur and business trailblazer, Roland has been an invaluable leader and resource to students and entrepreneurs alike. While he is in town, he took time out of his busy schedule to meet with Dylan Fox and Anthony Shop. Is Anthony here today? Anthony is a former student of mine. Okay. Both who are business plan competition alum and have achieved success launching their business idea. The ethos of Tahoe Tech Ventures is a testament to Roland's commitment to entrepreneurial guidance and mentorship. At Tahoe Tech Ventures, Roland assists entrepreneurs in navigating the challenges and obstacles of startups. He helps them by face-to-face and helps them transform their ideas into visible enterprises. Roland's dedication to mentorship is also evident outside on his work at TTV, and he also mentors business students, speaks at colleges across the country, and serves as a judge at various business plan competitions, such as this one. At the School of Business, Roland currently serves as a mentor to our STAR EMBA program, which focuses on enhancing business pitch skills for our students. So as you can imagine, today many of our students want to go into entrepreneurial ventures, as many of you do here. And that interest extends even beyond companies, but also to social entrepreneurship, another area where we've been successful as a school at cultivating students. As you can tell, Roland's been quite an impressive leader and entrepreneur, and I think there's really no individual that I can imagine that's better deserving of recognition from the university as a whole. So I'd like to thank the GW Entrepreneur Roundtable and the GW Alumni Association Committee for selecting Roland for this prestigious award. Roland, congratulations. Congratulations.
Thanks. It's truly an honor to be here today. When I was asked if I could be present for this award, I was floored that they would pick me. There are a lot of other great business leaders that have really shined in their trajectory once they left George Washington University, and I was just bowled over. And it was kind of an unintended consequence of my experience here. And it made me think about the types of unintended consequences that have resulted from my business experience that really started as a student here at GW. When you hear the term unintended consequences, you tend to think of it in a negative way. You do something wrong and there's an unintended consequence that's going to come back and haunt you. But I'm going to spend a couple minutes sharing with you some unintended consequences in a positive light, things that have happened as a result of what I experienced here at GW and how that turned my life completely around from where it had been heading to where it ended up and puts me on this stage today. When I enrolled at GW's business program here at the Graduate School of Business, my short-term goal was pretty narrow focus. I wasn't looking to make friendships and build business contacts. I needed skills that were going to give me a leg up or an advantage in the business world. And I saw that getting my business degree here was a means to an end. What I didn't think about was that on my first day of class, I would meet a fellow student whose interests and work ethic were so closely aligned with mine that almost from the very beginning, we began dreaming up ideas for business. You could say that my business partner, Mark Wallace, who, wave Mark, my business partner, Mark Wallace is really the first unintended consequence of coming to GW. Again, emphasize in a real positive sense, right? As we worked our way through the business program, we encountered many top-notch professors. However, one of them really stood out in particular. His name is Professor Will Money. We just heard his name mentioned. Will, wave to people who don't know you. And I know he gets this all the time, but how's money for a name for a business professor? Well, he took us under his wing and he mentored us throughout the process. During our time at GW, he offered enthusiasm, he offered suggestions, and when necessary, he offered blunt criticism of our ideas. Although we didn't come up with a solid business idea while we were students here, we kept in touch, both Mark and I, and the two of us with Professor Money. About a year later, after we left GW, we approached Professor Money as a sounding board to discuss our idea for the business that you heard the dean mention really became the first commercial cloud, consumer cloud that was out there. Professor Money provided valuable guidance. Equally important, he also provided a sizable angel investment in our startup business. So not only was he encouraging and supportive of us in an emotional, intellectual way, he said, how can I be a part of this? And his initial angel investment in our business is what jump-started it for us so that we could quit our day jobs. Mark said goodbye to launching satellites into space. I said goodbye to being a management consultant at Booz Allen. And that got us going. So whoever knew that finding an awesome professor and mentor at GW would also provide a means for us to jumpstart our business. I had never heard of that. I don't know of any other startups that have had that kind of input, financial or otherwise, from their professors as I received here at GW. Over the next 10 years, Mark and I faced a lot of challenges. We had setbacks, and then ultimately we had some really great successes. Among the many unintended consequences that I experienced along the way, one stands out as something that I'm really proud of, and I think Mark shares this as well. We created a company culture that thrived. We hired great employees with practically zero turnover. People loved working for us and didn't feel compelled to leave. We saw many of our new hires, oftentimes hired right out of college, we saw them evolve where they fell in love, they got married, they bought their first house, they had their kids, and they didn't leave, they were still there. And there were several employees that made it the entire run of our company. And in a job climate where you have employees that will frequently, young employees that will frequently change jobs every 2, 3, 4 years, we just didn't have that. We had a very stable workforce and a very loyal workforce, and that was something that I didn't expect. I thought we'd always be constantly in that hiring process to replace people that were leaving, and it just didn't happen, and I felt really satisfied with that. After we sold our company to Symantec, and everyone here probably knows Symantec because they have the Norton antivirus thing that jumps up on your screen and tells you owe them more money, but it's the leading security software company on the planet. After we sold our company, Mark and I stayed there for a couple of years, but then we decided it was time to move on to other things. Mark and I have stayed good friends, but we took two different paths. This guy is a true blue serial entrepreneur who's out there creating his third or fourth startup at this point. I took a different path. My focus was to center on the notion of giving back and helping the next generation of entrepreneurs. My wife and I sold our home here in Maryland, and we moved across the country to be on the West Coast. We moved to a place called Lake Tahoe, hence the Tahoe Tech Ventures. And it turns out we chose to move to a town that's a virtual hive of Silicon Valley refugees. people that have either cashed out and moved there, or they bought a second home, and that's where they commute from the Bay Area. Lovely area. And once we got there, thinking that I'm going to spend all my days paddleboarding and skiing and sailing, I got very drawn into the entrepreneurial community out there and involved with the business community. I became a trustee of a college that's out there where they focus, it's a small, resort town type college, but they focus on entrepreneurship, and that was a real plus for me. I serve as a guest lecturer. I talk on topics of entrepreneurial finance, business ethics, that sort of thing. In addition, my wife and I are both active angel investors. We screen companies and decide whether or not to invest. I'm part of a larger angel investing network. Show of hands, who here has heard of Shark Tank, the TV show? Okay. Good response from a crowd like this, right? Well, one of the companies that we invested in was in Shark Tank, or on Shark Tank about 4 weeks ago. Did very well. They got funding from one of the sharks, and I helped to negotiate that deal. And we coached these guys before they went on to the show to work out the legal terms so that if there was an investment coming from the sharks, that it would be subordinate to our investment as an angel group. I then networked, or we call it syndicating deals, where our angel group meets with other angel groups like the Silicon Valley Angels, the Berkeley Angels, Sacramento Angels, all these little hubs of angel activity that take place in the Silicon Valley area. And we cobbled together about $1 million of funding for this company. So that's the kind of thing that I really enjoyed doing once we got out there. So that all those things I've described about being involved in a college and helping to mentor these companies led to another unintended consequence that just completely hit me from left field that took a lot of thought to navigate. A little more than a year ago, my wife and I were invited to spend a weekend at a uniquely Nevadan cultural event. It's called the Annual Cowboy Poetry Gathering. Cowboy poetry? I had no idea that cowboy poetry exists. I'm new to the West Coast, and there's cowboys and ranches and stuff. But we get invited to this cowboy poetry event. Turns out it's a big deal. And they have cowboy poets who are cowboys from all over the world. Australia, Ireland. They show up and they recite poems. You have to be a working, real deal cowboy, but you also have to have a literary sense. So I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. I'm kind of living the dream of being out west and seeing what it's like. So we spent about 3 days of visiting these different sessions, hearing these poets recite their poetry. Some of them are playing guitars while they're singing. It's all kind of fun. Got to wear cowboy clothes, boots and leather vests and all that stuff. At the end of this 3 days, after I've been entertained by this group that invited my wife and I out, they had a special private dinner. And I'm sitting around this table with all these shakers and movers from Nevada. And I'm asked at the end of this dinner, do you know why we invited you here? I don't know. I'm a nice guy. I can tell funny stories. And they said, no. Those are all good, but no, we invited you here because we want you to run for lieutenant governor. So I had been there for 2 years, and they're asking me to run for political office. I've never aspired to run for political office. It's not in my DNA. I don't have a history of class president and all that stuff. And that apparently was one of the big things that they liked about it. They said, hey, you have not been corrupted by the process. And that's all too common in this world. So they said, so that's not a good reason not to do this. And then they said, another big plus is that you spent 10 years in the military. In a previous life, I was a paratrooper. I was living down in Central America, blowing up cocaine factories in South America. They said, you're a veteran, you're a patriot. That's another big checkbox. So they're just going down the list to try to convince me that this is really a good thing for me. And then they liked the fact that Mark and I had created a successful business. We'd created jobs and had actually done something to improve the world through our innovation and technology. And so that was a big plus for them. And then the one thing that really stood out was that I was married to the same woman for going on 30 years, and that's a real rare thing in the political world. So all those things together were a compelling story that they tried to paint for me as to why I should just jump at this chance. Well, taken as a whole, these folks were convinced that I was what was needed to help transform Nevada which has always been known as this gambling mecca, with mostly Las Vegas, but also Reno, into something new, something better, because gambling's going away as a revenue source for the state, because every state has gambling now. You don't go out west to gamble. If that's what you want to do, you can go anywhere and find a casino or slots or whatever your game is. So they're trying to reinvent themselves. They've done a good job of bringing in Apple. Apple has the iCloud data center that's in Reno, and they've got 2 or 3 other big computing centers that are coming online there. And now they're courting and apparently are the top forerunner in the contest with Elon Musk's Gigafactory to build batteries for the Tesla and other electric vehicles. So they're really doing this thing, and they think, you're a tech guy, you've created jobs, you're a veteran, all these things. Come on, just say yes. I wasn't ready to say yes yet. And I needed some time to understand the process. I also found out that this is a really unique time in Nevada politics. The current lieutenant governor is terming out. It means he can't run again. He's going to finish his final term, and they have to elect someone else. Well, the current governor is a terrific guy. I know him personally. He is going to be on his 2nd term, but there's rumors that he's going to be trying to unseat Harry Reid. Have your own thoughts on politics, but that's going to be an exciting election race. And if he does decide to go after Harry Reid's seat, he's going to be vacating the lieutenant or the governor's slot 2 years into the next lieutenant governor's term. So that means you could be elected from lieutenant governor to governor in a 2-year process instead of an 8-year process. So that was another thing of urgency. They really wanted me to commit to this thing so I could go off and become the next governor. And I was flattered. It was exciting stuff. But I was also very, very uncertain about wanting to relinquish control of my life and have handlers that were going to manage my process. I was trying to object. I didn't want to spend money that I had spent a lot of time earning and risk it on a campaign that was ill-fated. And I was assured, don't worry, it's not going to cost any of your money. We have people that are going to fund this thing. So again, they're just, every time I brought up an objection, they're just crossing it off the list. So I spent the next several months talking about it to my wife, seeking counsel from whoever I could. I prayed about it a lot. My wife and I prayed about it a lot, looking for some kind of divine guidance to tell us what we should be doing with our lives at this point. I also spent a fair amount of time with the outgoing lieutenant governor to pick his brain about the pros and the cons. And I have to say, the cons outweighed the pros. Literally, you'll hear a thump at night, you'll look out your window, and you'll see strangers dumping your trash cans onto a tarp, throwing it into the back of a car, driving off so they can sort through your garbage to find dirt on you. Things like that. So I hear all these stories, and he was brutally honest with me. And I think it's because I never had that inkling that I wanted to go off into political office that I made the decision, I don't think so. So about 2 weeks ago, I met with the current governor and lieutenant governor, thanked them for their service, the obligations and the duties they felt towards their constituents and the fine jobs they've done, but I officially said I'm not going to do this. So you won't see my name on this gubernatorial cycle, but I haven't foreclosed it permanently. I may end up deciding to go insane and run next time. But I wanted to mention some of these unintended consequences of business as a way to illustrate that when you're in the trenches of raising money to get your startup going, and you're focused on things like signing leases and hiring employees, it's really tough to see beyond that finish line. Your finish line is, am I ever going to cash out from this deal? Am I ever going to have a life that's not so hectic and just so crazy busy that I never know from one day to the next what I'm going to be doing? And I would encourage you as entrepreneurs and those who want to be entrepreneurs and are giving it some thought to really give some thought to the doors that will open when you succeed. Success is great, money is great, but the opportunities, if I hadn't had a successful business, I wouldn't be up here today. I wouldn't have been asked to run for lieutenant governor. I wouldn't be able to do the things that I do with the angel investing world, mentoring students, helping to guide the next generation of entrepreneurs. So I think it's important in closing, I will say, the challenge you're going to face is that you're going to have so many fun and interesting things that you can choose to do, but you have to be thinking about in the back of your mind and then move it to the front of your mind. Where is your time best spent, and what are you going to do to make the next generation of entrepreneurship viable and exciting for those people that come after you? So, thank you very much.